All right, guys, welcome into another episode of the Queen City Soccer Show. I'm your host, Cole Godfrey, and I'm joined today by none other than Justin Kurtz. Justin, how you doing, man?
Hey, Cole. Could be doing better. It should be doing better, but it's looking an awful lot like Charlotte FC are going to waste a chance here, crash out of the League's Cup. It's it's one of those competitions where I didn't care about it till we started doing well. I'll admit it.
Yeah,
you know.
I think I think that's probably the consensus. I know we've talked about it on the podcast multiple times how much we prefer Open Cup versus or to the Leagues Cup just because of the commercial uh, way that it's done and trying to uh, kind of mix the open or the Liga Mekis and MLS and try to get the fans from Liga Mekis teams supporting MLS teams and all that. But yeah, when Charlotte goes out there and wins 3-0, then 2-0, and looking really good, sitting tied at the top of the table coming into this match, it gives you a little bit of, and like Ted Lasso says, though, Justin, it's the hope that kills you.
And it certainly did for us. We go up against Pachuca, who had not won. They'd scored a couple of goals against Cincinnati and Columbus, but they certainly hadn't come close to winning. And we lose 1-0. That
Yeah.
drops us. We're at 6 points now. After 3 matches played, mathematically we're kind of sort of still in it, but it's unlikely as the next couple of days play out that we will move on. We're not the only team in our group that are having some or had some trouble with that same group of Atlas, Pachuca, and Pumas. Um, Columbus got the win against Pumas, but they had to go to PKs, and Cincinnati also lost to Atlas. So, all of us kind of had trouble with the same set of teams that had been absolutely bossed for 2 rounds and 6 matches. Um,
Yeah, and
all of a
and
sudden, the
with that,
MLS teams fell apart.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say is that left Charlotte with a just massive opportunity to punch their ticket at the quarterfinals, and all you had to do was beat Pachuca, and you had your
Yeah.
chances, and you let them squander away. So Justin, let's just jump right into it. Charlotte FC Pachuca at Bank of America Stadium was another lightning delay. It's something about these Tuesday night games in the summer that Mother Nature does not like to cooperate. So there was another delay. This game was slated to start, I believe, at 7:30 and started at 8:52. Uh, the lineup, Justin, a very Leagues Cup lineup. No real big surprises. David Schnegg starting with Tim Ream, Kessler, and Byrne. Jabril Gianni, Westwood, and Luca Della Torre getting the start in the midfield. Leo Labada, Edon Toklamati, and Tiger Smalls getting his start in the Leagues Cup after his really good recent run of form. And then Miller back in goal. Justin, I mean, any thoughts on this starting lineup? It's nothing really to complain about or to get really excited about.
Well, the only thing I think to call out, and Luke and I talked about it in the last episode, is this phantom red card that cost us Pep BL for the rubber match of this 3-game series in Leagues Cup.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm not gonna say that's the reason we lost, but there still hasn't, from anything I've heard from any of the news reports or anything like that, there has been no explanation for where that red card came from. And this team is better with Pep BL around. You can't
for
argue
sure.
that. So, did it cost us this one? No, we had our opportunities. You're right. You said it already, Cole. We squandered it, but it would have been better if he could have been there. You know, Maybe we wouldn't have had to see Luca De La Torre for as long as we did in the midfield. I don't know. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so you're right. We don't see a lot of surprises. Tiger Smalls gets probably the deserved start after a good performance so far in Leagues Cup. And then, in my opinion, at least promptly turned in a Tiger Smalls performance, the ones that we're used to from MLS, where he ran around for however long he was on the field. Would he come off around the 60th minute or so? And didn't do anything for 60 minutes.
Yeah, and we've given Tiger a lot of flack on this podcast, or at least I'll speak for myself. I have, and it's because of performances like this. This game, realistically, Justin. Let's dive into it. In the first half, not a whole lot going. I will say this though about just since we're on the topic of Tiger Smalls, the whole first half, man, the right side was just not there. There was no attack at all coming down that right
Yeah.
side through Tiger Smalls. It was all down the left through Leo Labata. I mean, it just seemed like every time we had any sort of attacking prowess, it was coming on that left side, and that just goes to your point that Tiger Smalls was, he was out there, he was running, but not really making an impact whatsoever. Justin, I'm going to be honest with you, man. In this first half, I didn't see a whole lot. I mean, Miller made some good saves, and Tim Ream looked really good, and in a pretty nervy situation in the first half where he was kind of one on one for a few moments with the defend or with Rondon, and kind of held his own and waited for some backup and Kessler to come. But other than that, as far as getting forward, I don't know of really anything I can look to and say, "Oh yeah, I mean Charlotte was just dominant." Because if you look at statistically in the first half, Pachuca outshot you 8-3. Shots on target, they outshot you 3-2. And I mean, you had a couple of chances, but nothing really to write home about, and nothing that you obviously finished.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like one of those matches, and unfortunately, I feel like we've seen too much of this with Charlotte, in general, this season. But it felt like a match where we were pretty good in the middle third when we had the ball, and then we would get to the attacking third and just inexplicably terrible passes. I thought Schnegg got forward well on the left side, but he's normally pretty good at sending these crosses in and finding people to do, to generate some threat. And he was just swinging crosses wide and high. Abada was making some progressive runs with the ball, and then he would get into the final third and he would send sort of an aimless ball back towards the penalty spot, or across the goal when there's nobody making a run or anything like that. And again, it all sort of felt hopeful that someone would be there rather than I'm passing to this player who is making a run. So you're right, we
Yeah.
didn't really generate anything that looked threatening um
Yeah.
in that first half.
No, and I mean, just to your point, as far as I agree. Me and my son were talking about David Schnegg a good bit last night because, and he had a tournament this past weekend, and they had him. He usually plays left wing, but they had him playing because they were playing against 15-year-olds, and he's only 12. They had him playing left back a good bit, and he's so used to playing left wing that he was. He, I, it's different when you're 12 years old, but he was creeping up the field, trying to get
Yeah.
more attacking because that's what he's used to. And so we were really watching David Schnegg, and I was like, pay attention to David Schnegg, and he just was up the field the entire the entire first half. I was like, actually, don't watch David Schnegg.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. The crossing was atrocious from Schnegg specifically, but it was also atrocious from everyone, dude. How our set pieces? I don't have any hope from our set pieces. I just none. We're not a threat. Ashley Westwood, his set piece off corners were just horrendous all night. When throughout the entire night, when you have three accurate crosses for a rate of 15% on the night, it's not a good night crossing, and that's what it seemed like. You said, man, Leo Labata, and that's something we talked about Tiger Smalls. That's something we could say about Leo Labata in his time here at Charlotte. Is he can make some good runs, and he can get in behind, and he can make a defender miss. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty in that final third, he usually falls a little bit short of that final touch, that final pass, or that shot. And that's something else we've seen. And Justin, it's again just piggybacking off of what you said. It's what we've seen from Charlotte this season, and honestly,
Yeah.
a good for stretches of last season, we just can't put our chances away. You had 25, or you had 24 touches in the opposition box. throughout the match, and you were scoreless. To me, that's just
Yeah.
it's that we're missing that final little piece. And Justin, just because like we said a minute ago, nothing really to write home about in that first half. So we'll just dig into this second half here. And I'll be honest with you, I said this on Twitter. I was extremely excited about, and I have been excited about Dean Smith's substitutions in this tournament. I wish
Yeah.
that it was. I wish that it was more. Well, I wish he would do it a little bit more in MLS play, but for this tournament specifically, I think he's gotten the substitutions as good as you can get. I mean, you come out in the 45th minute, or you come out at halftime. Nothing's really going for you attacking wise, and he brings off Tiger Smalls, brings on a Loco, brings on Brent Bronico for Jabril Gianni, and switches out strikers and that's at the 57th minute. And you know, Archie was getting in. Archie was the thing I do like about Archie compared to Edon. Edon seems to me like he gets bogged down a good bit, and he don't get if he's not getting the ball, he's not energetic. He likes when he has the ball, he's a lot more energetic versus Archie, who is very very energetic off the ball, and I think it made a difference. I mean, when those three subs were made, Justin, the game changed in a very positive way for Charlotte FC, and they piled on the pressure for like the next 15 to 20 minutes. It was just nothing but Charlotte FC.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Rodolfo Aloco's first touch turns into one of the best opportunities of the night for Charlotte. There's
Yep.
a good ball up from Nathan Byrne into the space. Rodolfo Aloco gets in behind his man, starts making the run. Now, I will say, this is a sign of Rodolfo Aloco's youth and everything like that. He's coming down the inside right channel. He's got a man on his back. There's the Pachuca player central in defense running back with him. But he has Liel Abada in the inside left channel running, and Abada's got the clean look.
Yeah.
And it's not a difficult pass. And it
Yeah.
is a situation where I think a young man got big eyes going, I got a shot at the goal here. Um, I think the better decision, and this is hindsight, but the better decision there maybe is to lay it off to Liel Abada.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the opening for me to an argument that like I see a lot of hate right now, in the Discord and in social media and everything like that. There's a Charlotte FC fan Discord that I'm a active member of and everything. I'm seeing a lot of Rodolfo Loco hate, and I
Yeah.
don't get it because he is so young, he is so raw that you gotta kind of take some lumps to get him real game time experience. You got to
Yeah.
take those lumps and you got to deal with maybe there's some inexperience in those decisions. You can't learn those lessons without getting the game minutes to make those mistakes. And I wish he'd made a different decision, but he'll make a different decision next time. He's a little bit more educated now. He's a little bit better because of it. And it sucks that it happened, but we can't just go, Rodolfo Loco is trash. He shouldn't start for us. Like, it, you know, Liel Labada hasn't been great. He's more experienced, has had more time. You know, class is temporary, or form is temporary, class is permanent, is the saying, right? These are
Yeah.
players with talent and with skill, and you got to let them occasionally ride out some stretches of bad form and take your lumps a little bit. It's going to be the same story a little bit later when we talk more about Archie. It's the same story when we talk about Adon. These are young men. There are questions, I think, about the roster construction, about how many young men is too many young men all at once, but also not a lot of options at the moment for Dean Smith, given the way the roster has been constructed. So don't throw these kids out. Don't trash them and just say they're all awful and we don't want any piece of them or anything. These are good players that wear our badge. Support them. They don't suck. They made bad decisions, but we all make bad decisions sometimes. Damn.
Yeah. Well, I've said this on the pod, and I said it last night in our group text, Justin, that look, Rodolfo Loco, I agree with you. The better thing to do in that situation would have been to have laid it off to Leo because, like you said, he was running wide open. However, the fact that he had the cojones to take it on and try to make something happen for his team at a young age, like I've said before, he is, and you just, just to piggyback off what you just said, he is extremely raw. He has very real talent. His soccer IQ, not maybe not there right now. But the way to get it there is by him getting opportunities. Like you said a second ago, this is something that he can learn from. This is something they go back and watch film and say, hey, look at this. Pick your head up, have some wherewithal, have some vision, and see what's around you before taking the shot on. And that's not the only good opportunity that Rodolfo had. He had another really good opportunity just a few minutes later, and he missed it. And look, you're gonna miss it sometimes. It's gonna happen to every single Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, anybody. It's gonna happen. It just so happened that it happened in a game where you lost and you didn't take your chances as a team. You can't put
Yeah.
a team. You can't put this on Rodolfo Loco. You can't put this loss on him. I mean, there's plenty of blame to go around if you'd like to do that, but Justin, just kind of moving on for just a minute. Right after that opportunity you're talking about, Nathan Byrne gets fouled in the 62nd minute. And when he gets fouled, Justin, somehow the ref called it a foul on Nathan Byrne and gave Nathan Byrne a yellow card. And I don't know if you
Yeah.
were watching the broadcast or could hear it or whatever, but the broadcaster
Yep.
was going bananas about it. He was like, "This is not even a foul on him. What is going on here? Did you see this?"
Yeah. Yeah, I did, and I don't understand it either because Burns got it plays the ball clean, has the ball, and he's the one that gets hit, and so I just I it it continues a trend though of some really bad officiating in this league's cup,
Yep.
and a trend too of really bad officiating in MLS. These officials, we can't say we'll take it from here after the World Cup and then trot out officiating that is this terrible. And it's one of the things that I hate most about the League Cup is you end up in situations with Liga MX teams that don't play. God, it's really hard not to say they don't play clean. It feels like they play dirty. Maybe it's just a different style in Mexico. I can't say for sure, but these would be fouls and bookings in the MLS. These would be fouls and bookings in the Premier League. So I don't understand why they're not fouls and bookings in Leagues Cup with these officials, but I hate it. and and I'm that's one of the things I'm happy to be done with Leagues Cup about is we don't have to deal with these Liga MX teams anymore and how they tackle and how they hit and how these matches get officiated. Because this is another one, like you said, Cole, where we're getting hammered with some truly horrific officiating decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we're used to it with pro refs, but it doesn't make it any easier. And uh, but just that to me, that specific instance, that it's just so bad. I mean, it's laughable. It's that bad. Um, well, just a little bit of decent news for a minute at least. In the 72nd minute, Leo Labata subbed off for one Mr. Alan Saint Maximin, and he comes on and promptly wins a penalty, Justin. And there I've seen all kinds of takes on this, on who should have taken the penalty and, yada, yada, yada. And the fact of the matter is, Dean Smith after the game said Archie was on the pitch, Archie was taking the penalty. I mean, that was Dean Smith's mindset, and I'm assuming that was the team's mindset because there was no hesitation from Brent, or not Brent Bronico, but Ashley Westwood. He immediately walked right over and gave it to Archie. And Archie, this is it's not the best place penalty. He went for power instead of placement, and unfortunately, a save, man. And Justin, I'm not going to lie to you, man. When they saved that, I had this feeling. I was like, that was our chance. And because that, I didn't see us scoring from open play, and I just had a bad feeling that we were gonna do something very Charlotte-y, and we did.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I thought that, the missed PK was the turning point for us. I thought that, everything kind of went out of us after that. I To talk for a minute about the debut of St. Maximin. We made the joke. I think a lot of us made the joke when Wilf went and St. Maximin came in, like, oh, it's a like for like. We're getting a crafty dribbling winger to replace a crafty dribbling winger. Um, yes, but also no, because where it felt like Wilf was always kind of trying to craft his way around people and into spaces with these, with these touches, and not to say that Saint Maximin doesn't have the ability to make the touches, but he also just goes at people. He showed us
He's
that
very
in
physical.
Yeah, he showed us that in his cameo against Pachuca. Is he's just gonna get the ball at his feet and he's gonna go at you, and you're gonna I guarantee you he's gonna be fouled about as much as Wolf Zaha was fouled in this league. I think
Yeah,
they're gonna be called more for him because he's going to turn them into the way that he plays, it's going to turn into more physical fouls. They're going to be more obvious fouls that Saint Maximin has been hit in this moment. Um, with Wilf, it was a lot of like, oh, his toe would get stepped on, his ankle would get clipped, stuff like that. Stuff that is difficult for casuals and for officials to spot. With St. Maximin, it's going to be he got kneed in the thigh or he got dragged down by the shirt. And it's going to be easier to see those fouls because he likes to get the ball at his feet and go at the guy in front of him. And I personally kind of love it.
yeah.
I was really excited with his debut. Like, yes, he wins the penalty. All of the other stuff Sam Maximin did was really exciting to me. Besides the penalty moment and everything, and specific to Sam Maximin, what else did you see, Cole?
Yeah, no, the biggest thing that stood out to me, I have to agree, is his physicality. Because I'm going to be, very honest. I mean, I watched a little bit of him at Newcastle, but since his days at Newcastle, I haven't really, kept a big tab on him. But I was kind of expecting more of the shifty, Zaha esque type of player, and he you can see that he has that in his locker. But I was just impressed again with his physicality. I mean, the guy, that's a big dude. I mean
Yeah,
that guy's in shape, and you know the wherewithal. He wasn't on the pitch 10 minutes and drew the penalty, and honestly, if Archie does slot that penalty home, we're talking about a win possibly. Oh, and the fact that Allen or ASM was the one who drew the penalty, got to a dangerous spot, made one player look absolutely silly in the box, and then had the other one beat and just got fouled. I mean, and that was my biggest takeaway from him though was just his physicality and how he handled himself. I did see him get frustrated a couple of times with some balls that were recycled that he wanted to try to get forward on, which I like to see. That's what you want to see out of an attacking player. They don't want to see the ball being recycled. They want to attack. And it was good to see him, even though it's his debut, kind of, hey, let's get forward. Let's go. That was pretty cool to see. Um, but yeah, Justin, I mean, that was the missed penalty was in the 83rd minute. And dude, the heartbreaker of all heartbreakers, the Charlotte FC way, it seems. And I put on Twitter,
yeah,
this team just knows how to pull you in just to let you down. and that's exactly what they did. And the 90th minute, first minute of stoppage time, Alan Bautista scores a goal, and Miller concedes his first of the Leagues Cup, and that was all she wrote. And like you said, this was the opportunity. If you were going to make any type of run in any cup competition, to be able to get yourself into a champ. That's all I look at this competition as just an opportunity to get the Champions Cup.
Yeah,
And you had a golden opportunity to square or staring you right in the face, and you just who was it? David Schnegg before the match said, "This is a cup final. We have to go
yeah,
out there and we have to win this game." And I'm sorry, but if this is a cup final, now obviously the caveat that it's you weren't playing your best 11 at all at the same time. So, you know, but what the fact of the matter is you had your opportunities and you squandered it, and it seems to be it's starting to become a little bit of a Charlotte FC staple, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. Not kidding about that one. Yeah, the goal that we concede is it's a bad giveaway from Tim Ream on a pass. It's Luca De La Torre not being strong enough. I have seen some internet chatter about, Tim Ream shouldn't be backing off there. He should be challenging. Tim Ream's got to cover two guys after Luca De La Torre isn't strong enough and turns the ball over.
Yeah,
So I can't, like, once the ball is back in Pachuca's hands, I can't put this on Tim Ream because he's got the guy running with the ball and the guy running out on the wing to try and cover. He can't commit too early or he's going to get burned the other way, and then you're going to blame him for that one too. Um, Luca De La Torre jogs back in defense. He doesn't really kind of like book it. Maybe he's gassed after being out there for 90 minutes. I don't know, but if he was that gassed, he should have been off the pitch. Yeah, I just I really thought Luca De La Torre was going to be a better signing for this squad, and I'm about done with him.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, you're right though. Once we didn't score the PK, and uh, it wasn't going to end well for us. So
no,
we'll take the positives out of it, right? We got a nice performance from Saint Maximin. I think it's really good for a player like Tiger Smalls to get the confidence that we've gotten, for him out of the last two matches before this one. Um, I think it was good for Leo Labata to get on the score sheet in some of these matches. I think it was good for guys like Brant Bronico, who haven't gotten as many minutes to get out there again. Will Cleary got some more minutes. I think it's been really nice seeing Kessler play. Um, I think that Kessler, when he is healthy, is probably our best center back at this point. And I think the pairing of Kessler and Morrison is, so long as Kessler is, knock on wood, healthy, um, that's the center back pairing I'd like to see this weekend come Columbus.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree, and that's a good segue there, Justin. That Charlotte FC does not leave Bank of America Stadium. They are back in action this Saturday against the Columbus Crew down or at Bank of America Stadium at 7:30. And this it's a good opportunity, Justin, to kind of get this second half, if you will, of the MLS season from the World Cup break and the Leagues Cup break and all that nonsense. A good way to kind of get back in and start on a positive and finish this season, the second half of this season strong. Getting your, honestly, trying to get ready for the playoffs because right now you're sitting in seventh place. Columbus sitting in 11th, and you're sitting there on 25 points. Cincinnati, New York City FC, and Chicago all sit in front of you respectively at sixth, fifth, and fourth. You're only 5 points off of third place. So let's stack some wins up in the league, and you know what else I want to see, Justin? I want to see Bank of America packed out like we know it can be. And I get it. It's the Leagues Cup. It's the middle of the week and all this stuff. I understand that. But 15,000, and I get that it was also a lightning delay. Like there's a bunch of caveats here. And I try to say, have some grace because I get it. But to me, this is back at the bank in the MLS against a decent Columbus side that you are fighting for points to try to get in that top four. And, you know, you got the new signing at ASM. Let's go out there and let's get 3 points at home and get this bad taste out of our mouth of this game and start the second half of MLS season on a high note.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not going to be an easy one. Columbus, have not been great this season in general, but they are improving. We've seen some progress in the League Cup. They have signed a new designated player in Bryce Mendez, who played very well in the League's Cup. They have signed former Manchester United defender Eric Bailly, which is, a player. He hasn't been a Premier League guy in years, um, but I'm familiar with him. He's a rangy, physical defender. And then news broke recently, like in the last couple of hours, that former MLS MVP Joseph Martinez is signing with Columbus. And
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
yeah, there's a lot of incomings for Columbus. Now I don't know if Martinez will be match fit and ready to go by Saturday. I'm kind of hoping maybe not, but they are improving their squad, and I look at it and I go, I wonder what that feels like because we've got Alan St. Maximin, but it cost us Wolf Zaha, and as excited as I am to see St. Maximin and Pep Biel on the field together, I do think that St. Maximin probably gets the start. I don't think he goes 90, but I think he gets the start, maybe gets 60 minutes. Um, I think we probably see, him and Idan and Leo Labata across the front line. I think you see Pep Biel, Gianni, and Westwood in the midfield. And then you probably see, it's probably Schnegg, Ream, Kessler, and Byrne, if I had to make a guess. And then Kalina gets his job back in between the posts now that we're back in MLS. Um, I think the style we have been playing in the few matches since Wilf left and we came back from the World Cup is the style that suits our personnel better. I think it's a style that suits St. Maximin better because I think we're moving and passing faster, and I think that's beneficial. It's going to
Yep.
take a little bit of time for everybody to mesh in this system, but I think it plays into the strengths of this team. And I hope that turns into one of these guys, Toklamati or Goodwin, gets off the schneid and like gets back to goal scoring because I'm hoping that they're going to be set up with some easier opportunities. Um,
Yeah.
I think we still have enough to beat Columbus this weekend, but this has become a much more challenging matchup than it was just a couple of weeks ago. With especially with the addition of Mendes, who has been electric in League's Cup play for them. So it'll definitely be a challenge. We are back at the bank. Speaking on attendance, I think will be better. Um, I know that the first League's Cup match against Pumas was the best attended of the League's Cup matches. That was also the one that was free for season ticket holders for League's Cup. The Atlas match and the Pachuca match, season ticket holders had to buy in addition to their regular season tickets.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big reasons that attendance was as bad as it was for those two matches. I think the other one was that it's Liga MX teams that I'm going to be honest, I don't think a lot of Charlotte football fans care about. I'm not just a Charlotte FC fan. I'm a huge football fan. I follow, Bundesliga. I follow some of the teams from Bundesliga. I follow some of the teams from La Liga. I follow a ton of Premier League stuff. I watch MLS action all over the place. I watch USL. I don't know anything about Liga MX. I don't care about Liga MX squads. So I didn't go in person to any of these because I didn't care. And I think a lot of Charlotte fans felt the same way. I think it'll be different. Us in town this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, that's fair. I mean, look, I wasn't there either. I mean, obviously, I don't live in Charlotte, but, uh, you know, I wasn't there either, and the only thing that worries me, Justin, and if, by some miracle we ever do finish in a CONCACAF Champions Cup spot, those games are gonna be during the weekdays at nights, and dude, that to me, there is no better competition or bigger competition to be in than CONCACAF Champions Cup for Charlotte FC. That is the premier competition to be in, and I just worry that it's gonna be 15,000 out there, and it's the biggest competition. So, like, that's I guess that's where my worry comes, but we gotta get there before we can even worry about that, and, um, but before we put the pin in the Leagues Cup for Charlotte FC, I know we always do a Crown of the Day award, and, it's gonna be hard to pick one from this match, but Justin, let's just do it this way. Who had, in your opinion, who was the winner of this tournament for a player for Charlotte FC, and who was the loser?
I mean, I think for the tournament, you got to say the winner is somehow Tiger Smalls, because I think out of the 3 matches, I think he's the guy that kind of like got his, maybe he didn't make his star rise, because Dean Smith has always had a thing for Tiger Smalls. But at least he got some of the fans talking about him the same way I think Dean talks about him. So that's absolutely a win for Tiger and everything. And I think that he showed in this one some of what Dean sees on the practice field for him. And maybe he can translate that further into, actual MLS performance. So
Yeah,
I yeah, it's probably him. In
yeah,
terms of like who didn't do well, I mean, I think this is slightly lesser competition, and I think Luca De La Torre unfortunately still didn't have a great tournament. Now, he didn't have an awful time in the first couple of matches, the minutes that he got against Pumas and Atlas, but he looked hung out to dry against Pachuca. He looked like he was gassed nearly immediately, and he was having trouble. Just I don't know what it is, but he has not worked out.
yeah. So, I mean, I agree 100%. I think it is Tiger Smalls. Just to be a little different, though, I'm going to go with Tyler Miller. I just, we love Christian Kalina. I am a Christian Kalina stan, and I don't think for a second that Tyler Miller is going to take Christian Kalina's job. However, it is nice to see that we have a pretty good backup. And, to go have 2 clean sheets back to back, and then, you give up a goal in the 91st minute. So, essentially, you're going into the 91st minute with 3 clean sheets. Nothing really to sneeze at there, Justin. And so I'm gonna go with Tyler Miller, and, I can't go with anyone else other than Luca De La Torre. It's just I had such high hopes for him this season. I was on the LDLT train coming into this season. I was super excited, and he's just not been good. I mean, he seems out of shape. He seems like he lacks creativity. He lacks tenacity. Like, he don't even work hard, it seems like. And that's my thing, is like, if your vision's not there and you're not making these creative passes and stuff, which he's got in his locker, which is just, I've seen it. I don't know what to say. Like, I've seen it before, not with Charlotte FC, but I've seen it, and he just can't pull it off. I don't know if it's the system. I don't know what it is, but like you said, dude, it has just not worked out. Um, with that being said, Justin, as we put a pin in the 2026 Leagues Cup season or tournament for Charlotte FC. Again, it was one of those things for me where I got really excited about something to just have it ripped away from me, and it's something that I've unfortunately grown accustomed to in my sports fandom life. So, like I've told my son 1,000 times, because unfortunately I've passed this curse on to him. And I've just told him, look, you go into it hoping for the best, but you always expect the worst. And that's it. Just it is what it is. And now we're getting back in MLS play, so let's pick up the pace. This season is about to take off in a way. This is my favorite part of MLS season. I'm just going to throw that out there. My favorite part of the MLS season, Justin, is the second part where it's matches hot and heavy, and it's not just the fact that there's matches. There is absolute meaning in every single match from this point on. And
Yeah.
every game, the next game is the biggest game, no matter who you're playing. And this is what as an MLS guy, this is what I live for. And I'm pumped to get to talk about it with you and Luke. I haven't been on the past few episodes. Life has been a little crazy. Son's been in a bunch of soccer tournaments, not local at all. And I've been, the fire department has kept. I'm at the fire department right now. Luckily, somehow we have not ran into anything. Let me knock on some wood. And uh, and then tonight, Luke's at the Charlotte Independence match, which Justin, you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording. They ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw with Hartford and getting a little bit of the Greenville Triumph treatment.
Yeah, that one ended up the Hartford Athletic 4, Charlotte Independence 2. So Charlotte's journey in the Brinks Tire USL Cup is over. Okay, it's it's one of those where because like the Open Cup, because these are open to all of the different levels, you're eventually going to end up in territory where the only way forward is cup sets, and there's only so long you can manage a cup set. And, this ended it down at the Sportsplex in Matthews. So it is what it is for the Independents. I think they made a good run of it in the Brinks Tire Cup, but um, now they can focus on they're still up the top of USL League One, so gives them the opportunity to focus there instead. Charlotte FC being out of the Leagues Cup gives them the opportunity to focus on MLS. Like you said, we need to push. You know, it, we've gotten top four before. We got fourth place last year. That's got to be the bare minimum that we target this year. I don't know if we've gotten better enough to push for it, but we've got to target top four, host the opening series at least. Um, so you're right. This run-in's going to be a big one. It's going to be an important one. I think it could be a really good one with St. Maxim. I think this team still needs more
A striker,
reinforcement.
a striker.
We need some kind of reinforcement. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. Like I was gonna ask you this before we got off here, but real quick, just Greenville Triumph are playing right now against Ford Madison. They just started the second half, and it is 1-1 at the moment. But I was gonna ask you this because we've heard all this. It don't look like Leo Labata's going anywhere, and we all thought that he was.
Yep.
Myself included. I had pretty much written him off that he was gone. I will say that his form since the World Cup break has been tremendously better. He looks a lot more lively than he has last year or the beginning of this season. But I don't look like he's going anywhere. I'm not going to say we, Justin. I set the bar pretty high for Edon Toklamati coming into this season with over under 12 goals. He ain't hitting that. It's just not going to happen. And you know, Archie, for the things that I said earlier that he does well, we're still not scoring. And the consensus in the Charlotte FC fandom is that we need, we have a striker problem. And I just want to get your take on this. Is that something that you agree with? Would you want to see us go out and get a more proven nine? Or are you good with having the committee of Liel and Archie?
I uh I don't think I am okay with it just being Archie and Adon for the remainder of the season because and I said this I wasn't part of the show when Archie joined and everything, but I've said this the whole time. I don't understand why you have two young guys that both need minutes. They not just need minutes because they want minutes because they're young guys that are full of piss and vinegar and want to be the ones out there starting. They need minutes to be able to develop their game. They need these opportunities to be able to get out there. They also don't really give you something different if you need a change of pace at the end of the game. Like, this is baseball fans will know you don't bring in the same kind of pitcher when you're looking for your closer. You're looking for the guy that can give you something different, that can unlock a weakness that has been identified over the course of the game and everything like that. And neither of our strikers are different enough to do anything. It was really interesting when it was Adon and Pat because you had two very different kinds of strikers. Um, Given the restrictions of MLS roster rules, I feel like the only way this happens is if you can find a loan for one of these two young guys for the remainder of the season to bring in some more experience, or somebody else. And if that happened, like, I don't think you're going to be importing another striker from overseas or anything like that. I think you're going to have to find a guy with some experience in MLS. Joseph Martinez, like I said, just signed with Columbus Crew. There are vet guys. Like, Kai Kamara is still floating around out there. Terrence Boyd. Uh, there are guys out there that have MLS experience, that you might still be able to get, in to play striker for you. Um, but it would require Zoran Kernetta to go out there and have a window where he says, "I'm not just signing designated player guys. You got to go out and fill in the role players," and it's where I've always had a problem with Zoran and continue to have a problem with Zoran, and that's why I don't think we'll find those reinforcements before this window closes, and that's why I don't think we're going to go into the playoffs in fourth place or higher, and that's why I think Zoran Kernetta is going to be fired at the end of the season. I'm fed up with him.
Yeah. That's my thing, man, is like, why can't we just go get it don't have to be a European, 23-year-old, unproven striker. Let's go out and get a MLS proven striker. Like,
Yeah.
but he won't do it, and I agree with you. I think that's gonna be ultimately his downfall. I just wanna throw this in there real quick. Crown Legacy also playing right now against Huntsville. They're up 2-1. Magic Smalls with a brace, and he has been really, really good for Crown Legacy as of late. And so younger brother of Tiger Smalls, I mean, just two world class names, Tiger and Magic. So and both strikes from the same exact spot on the out or right there at the top of the box on the outside, just tucks it home. But um, no, Justin, I agree with you 100%. I think that we do need a striker. I don't, but again, like I said, I don't think we're going to get one. Um, because again, it comes back to what are you going to do? You're going to play Edon 65 minutes and bring or 70 or 80 minutes, and then bring on Archie for the last 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of a match, and then the next match do the same thing, and then the next match Archie starts for a half, and then bring in like it's. There's no way you're going to get comfortable. There's no way you're going to get into rhythm. It's I don't envy Dean in this position because I don't know what else he's supposed to do. Because when you're playing somebody for 75 minutes and they don't look lively and they don't score, what else are you to do but to replace him? And when your replacement is cold, you know, luckily Archie did get see some meaningful minutes in this Leagues Cup, and he bagged a goal, but you know. That penalty, man, a missed penalty in a situation like that, it's going to weigh heavy on the psyche. It's got to. If you have any pride in yourself as a footballer, it's gonna weigh heavy on you. But Justin, with that being said, I'm good to move on from Charlotte for tonight and
Yeah.
look forward to Columbus this Saturday. And yeah, with that being said, though, the soccer is about to start, flying because next weekend, Justin, we have the Barclays. I don't know, it's not Barclays, but we had the Premier League start. And Friday, just to kick the season off, you have Arsenal and Coventry City, and Haji Wright will be playing, and that's going to get the Premier League season kicked off next Friday at 3 o'clock, and then that Saturday your Red Devils will be playing against Hull, and then
Yep.
that Sunday the Tottenham Hotspur that is linked heavily with Feller and Balogun at the moment, gonna
Yeah.
be taking the pitch, hopefully to not get relegated, and um, yeah, so Premier League getting ready to start up, all European soccer getting ready to start up next weekend, or I don't know about La Liga, but uh, so we're gonna have all the soccer that we can get, and college football getting ready
Absolutely.
to start back up. NFL, if you're a big fan of NFL, the Panthers, in the Hall of Fame game, Haynes King goes out there and wins it the last play of the game. So a lot of exciting sports
Definitely.
stuff going on.
It, breaking Panthers news today: former Pro Bowl tight end Darren Waller is signed with the team, which I love. I love a good tight end. I love a pass catching tight end. Greg Olson, one of my favorite players to pull on the jersey for the Panthers. I just love love the Panthers tight end. Going back to Wesley Walls, everything like that. It's exciting, I think, to get a guy like Darren Waller in because we have gone too long without that safety blanket, middle
Yeah,
of the field receiver who can just settle down and be a big target for Bryce Young. And Darren Waller has a chance, I think, to be that guy and to put up some serious numbers. And so I'm really excited to see him back.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean,
100%.
I'm ready for all of it. I'm ready for Manchester United versus Hull. It's 7:30 on a Saturday morning. Is one of my favorite things. I'm a morning person. I'm awake early every day anyway. I get to work at 6:30 most days, which means I'm usually up between 5 and 5:30. A 7:30 kickoff for me is just such the sweet spot of a Saturday morning because my whole family is asleep. I'll just have a cup of coffee and watch a Premier League match to start off this season, and uh, it'll be great. And then I'll watch Spurs, who are the winners of this off season, with all of these midfielders that I thought were going to go to Manchester United that didn't. And we'll see if they stay out of the relegation zone this year.
Yeah,
Um,
you know what? Top 10, finish in the top 10. I'm fine. I'm happy. And
I,
yeah, I'm the same way, man. Definitely during the start of the Premier League season, waking up and watching that 7:30 game on a Saturday because it takes you right into college game day at 9 o'clock, and then for me until Charlotte FC plays at night, usually the whole entire day is college football. And
yeah,
if South Carolina is playing at the same time as Charlotte FC, I will be double screening it. Or I'll either be in Charlotte or I will be in Columbia.
yeah,
It is what it is. And so, yeah. Justin, man, thank you for your time tonight, man. It's very rare that you and I just get to sit down by ourselves without Luke throwing in some funky reference as far as like movies or TV. No, I'm just kidding. We love you, Luke. We miss you. And it's cool to get to sit down with you and talk about this unfortunate circumstances and what we're talking about tonight. But for the listeners out there, if you don't mind, just give us a follow at QCS Pod on Twitter, all your socials. Go follow us on Spotify, on Apple Pod, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on there. Leave us a review, share, tell your friends, and yeah, I'm we'll be talking to you guys probably after that Columbus match Saturday. Probably get y'all something out. I will say this: I have gotten a lot of feedback, Justin, during this Leagues Cup match. I'm not throwing shade at any other Charlotte FC entity, but I have gotten a ton of feedback from our listeners thanking us for continuing to be consistent and putting out content covering this club because they feel that as it has kind of the content creator or the podcast creation has went downhill as far as not quality but just as far as how much and how often people are posting. We know there's some really good Charlotte FC podcasts and channels out there, so we thank you for listening to us and giving us some of your time. We really appreciate it for the listeners out there. But Justin, that does it for me, man. If you're good, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm great. We do all of this for the fans, and we do all of this for the crown,
For the
man.
crown. That's right.